And welcome back live here on NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. Producer Chris, once again, behind the scenes for today's show. We will have a new mock draft for you guys as part of today's video with trades. I got kind of crazy with one of the trades because that's fun to me to do stuff like that. We'll break down some rumors out there as well. First question for you guys on today's show. Where would you rank JJ McCarthy among quarterback prospects in this year's draft? A report, emphasis on the report side, on him being maybe number one for some teams, which I have a tough time buying the Kool-Aid on that one. Where would you rank McCarthy among the quarterback prospects in this year's class? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd be a little surprised if it got down to 7, but I suppose that certainly is an option as well. So rank McCarthy among the quarterback prospects this year. I see a 5 from AJS, 4 from Shelley. You will see where I have him ranked if you haven't already on a previous video. I have my top 7, 8, 9. Well, it's the top 5. I'm trying to remember how many I've actually got ranked and graded. Knowing I got a few more to get to, so that it shouldn't change much. I think it's like top 10 I've got pretty much done. I guess I can check my notes now, but 4, 6, 3, 5, 4 in there as well. Keep the comments coming. Where would you rank the Michigan prospect this year among QBs? The pin poll, by the way, is this question. Will Michael Penix out of Washington be drafted in round 1? 1 for yes or 2 for no, because that's how the math works there. I would not be surprised if he went top half of round 1, but I also think you get to the point where if he doesn't go like top 15-ish, probably top 13 with the Saints and Broncos in that range, or the Raiders, I should say, in that range, you're probably going to not see him go round 1. Because that means those teams that could have taken him at 13 and 14 and 15, whatever, and 12, 11, like, we don't want him there. So they're going to move up to get him at the back end of round 1? I'd be a little bit surprised. That doesn't happen nearly as often as we tend to think. So at that point, I think I have a pretty good feel for it. But maybe a team jumps in the back end of round 1. I think the Patriots, the rumors of Patriots going Marvin Harrison trading back in round 1, I think those are dead. Robert Kraft wants a quarterback. And when the owner says, I want a quarterback, you tend to get the quarterback there. A lot of ones in there. More ones in the comments than there are in the pin poll voting, by the way. 58% say yes. 42% say no. Bronco Stampede says 1. Is it going to be a Bronco? Nick says yes to the Broncos. Antonio, AJS, Matthew, EJ Pats fan, Carl, and Hellspawn72. That's a fun name. All typing in there once. Some more questions for you guys, then, of course, into the full show. But today's video is made possible by LinkedIn. The NFL draft, everyone spends a lot of time trying to figure out what the best hires can possibly be. And when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. We just found a couple new hires here for Chat Sports via LinkedIn. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to find, access, and get professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That is why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply, but check the comment section and the description of today's show for the LinkedIn link. Because other fan bases want to try to make it happen, we will spend time on Micah Parsons and the drama around not even him. I would almost say Cowboys media connected to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. I have seen some wild trades. I saw one from an Eagles fan was like, Who says no? Cowboys give up Micah Parsons. They get Nolan Smith, a first, and a conditional pick. I'm like, the Cowboys say no. Obviously. Percent chance the Cowboys would trade Micah, though. There's been a lot of the Chat Sports fan channels trying to get that one to go down. No, it's not going to happen. I very low should be your answer here, especially like right now. Just doesn't make any sense there. 10%, 40%, 60% from Corey Childs. I think you're looking at maybe 10%. I think Shelley's probably got a good number there. Never say never in anything in the NFL, but I'd be pretty stunned if that went down there. Choppy71 says, go Panthers, by the way. Stay tuned, Choppy. You'll get your chance. Talk Panthers briefly on today's show. Briefly. Because when I do my mock drafts, I give a pick for every team. I think CJ Young has the best answer, though, so far. 0.69%. Nice. All right, how many rounds of the 2024 NFL Draft will you watch? Hopefully with us here at Chat Sports. Let me know in the comment section. We, of course, will be live for all 7 rounds of the NFL Draft, plus some before, plus some after, grades as well. Draft Channel will have some picks that go up there. We've got you covered with everything you could possibly want to know on the 2024 NFL Draft. So how many rounds will you be tuned in for? It's okay if you can't do 7. People have lives too. People are not like me who didn't do anything Thursday night. Well, I guess for them, Friday night and Saturday, because it was back then. I remember the day was when it was one day. All I did. It was a long Saturday, I'll tell you what. How many rounds will you watch, though? 1 and 2, third rounds on TV. 1 from Bowls Nation, your reaction, all 7. I like that. Jerome says 5. Richard says 7, 3 with you. Appreciate that. Keep the comments coming with how many rounds that you'll watch of this year's NFL Draft. Now, are you ready and excited and hyped for it this year? We are just over 3 weeks away. I don't know how many players I have done. That's always kind of fun for me because I do all my notes first. I'll put my grades in my notes, and then I will get the spreadsheet inputted, and I'll figure out how many players I got to each year. Normally comes in around 300, and then I get mad because I'm like, this guy's a UDFA. Like, some guys take me longer. Some guys, you can tell kind of like, no, this is not it. Some guys are easy. Marvin Harrison Jr., easy eval. Like, don't overthink that one. But if you are ready and excited for it, then like today's video. The goal was always about 50% like ratio, so should be able to get to 50 likes here pretty quickly. Coming up live on today's NFL Daily, some news and rumors, including plenty of draft conversation there. A mailbag. There are 2 ways to get on the show. Number 1 is to use hashtag NFL. Saw a couple of those already come in at this point. Or you can super chat. Skip the line altogether to get on. And we'll break down my latest NFL mock draft. It's been a little while. With trades. That is a 3-team trade involved on today's show. So, coming up live here on today's NFL Daily, let's get started. If you are going to watch the 2024 NFL Draft, whether it's 1 round, 3 rounds, or all 7 rounds, here with us at Chat Sports, we'll be live for it, of course, then like today's video for me right now. Let's dive into some draft rumors as I keep saying, we're off the rails on the JJ McCarthy hype. Apparently not yet. More and more buzz for McCarthy continues as a possible top 5 pick, with the latest report saying he could be quarterback 1 for teams. This is what Michael Hawley over at NBC Sports Boston said. There's a really good chance he could wind up on the Patriots. I'm hearing more and more chatter that JJ McCarthy is high, if not first, on the boards of the Washington Commanders and the New England Patriots. He may be QB1 for both of those teams. This is kind of wild to me, especially because a lot of NFL teams have not actually set their boards yet. That's not quite done yet, but maybe high on the boards is reasonable since their grades are mostly finished here. I think that the only report next possible is JJ McCarthy is actually quarterback 0. He has transcended draft boards altogether, which is something that actually you could hear Jim Harbaugh saying, can't you? I like McCarthy. You can go back to our way too early NFL mock draft. We had JJ McCarthy in that round 1 mock. Not that many people did. There are a lot of things to like. The accuracy, the mobility, going over the middle of the field. There's a lot of B grading involved, I think, in his profile. He also wasn't asked to carry Michigan at all. He never had to. He made some plays on third downs. Wasn't as great down the stretch. Is there really a top 10 ceiling on him? Or are you banking on him being a quick impact player who hasn't had to do a bunch of the big, crazy stuff? So these are my quarterback rankings. Caleb Williams is number 1, Drake Mays 2, Jaden Daniels 3, gap, JJ McCarthy 4, not as big of a gap, Michael Penix 5, and then another gap to Bo Nix, and then a bigger gap after him, by the way. There are things to like, but him, like, claiming he's the best quarterback in the draft, there's so much unknown with his profile in particular and his report in particular, even relative to others. I just don't get it. I can't get on board with that. So where would you rank JJ McCarthy among quarterback prospects in this year's NFL draft? It is the pinned comment on this video. So if the ad comes on YouTube, that's great. Ignore it. Instead, head down there and go vote. Where would you put McCarthy among QB prospects in this year's class? Let's talk Micah Parsons here. A report out of Dallas had claimed that Micah was, quote-unquote, wearing thin on the Cowboys, which has started many a trade rumor out there, we'll talk about that too. Here's the report itself from Sean Sharif over at 105 through the Fan in Dallas. I've heard from way too many people this offseason. I'm talking about at least 4 different people have told me that Micah has worn thin there. I don't know how much is true and how much it actually hurts his rep. I don't know the typical behavior of a superstar. I don't know how damaging it is. But all I do know is this. I've heard from way too many people that if Micah Parsons was out of there would be a decent amount of people inside the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco smiling or breathing a sigh of relief. Now, there's 2 ways, I think, to look at this in particular. Number 1, oh, look, it's a negative story about a Cowboys player right around contract time. Not the first time that's happened. Not the last time, probably. You got Des Bryant out there and called it a smear campaign. Just straight up said it out there. The Cowboys have not been able to beat these allegations at all. This has been a claim made against the franchise for a very long time now. I also think this is true. This might just be bad reporting. Because you know what wasn't actually said in that quote? Cowboys. It wasn't the Cowboys or the coaching staff or the front office was being worn thin by Micah. It was just people over there. And as I'm sure you know, a football organization is much, much larger than just those football people. Is this a person who matters that feels this way? Is this one of your coaching staff players? Is this one of your key front office members? Or is this just people who work for the Cowboys don't like the personality? I could see that being the case, but that doesn't matter, does it? So I would be very curious to see what the actual sourcing was on that front. We will come back to the trade angle as part of this here, but today's show is made possible by LinkedIn. When you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals who are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. We continue to grow here at Chat Sports. We just had a couple new hires, and we're not done yet, by the way. And LinkedIn has been a huge part of that and has helped us find the right people for the roles here at Chat Sports. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched the feature, helps you write job descriptions, making it easier and quicker. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply, but links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Now, unsurprisingly, back to Micah Parsons, other teams and fans would love to acquire a player who has put up some of the best production in his NFL career so far. We're talking about top 5 in sacks in his first 3 years. It's Dwight Freeney, Hall of Famer. Micah Parsons so far. Aldon Smith, on pace for a Hall of Fame career, except he had all kinds of off-the-field issues, the very, very bad ones. Derek Thomas, Hall of Famer. Reggie White, Hall of Famer. This is second or runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year, back-to-back years. Like, if you were fantasy drafting for defense, this is the number 1 overall pick because of age and production so far. The minimum trade value is the Khalil Mack / Jalen Ramsey trades, and probably more than that. It's a first-round pick, a future first-round pick, at least an early day 3 pick, and more. Oh, maybe even a lot more if you're doing this right. It's like teams, I don't see any way in which the Cowboys actually move Micah right now. He's going to be hella expensive, but that type of sack production isn't found often with a player that young. It's just not. So what is the percent chance the Cowboys would actually trade Micah Parsons? Sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. Interesting draft update here from Armando Salguero, I think that's how it's pronounced, over at Outkick, was a Miami local reporter as well. He says the Cardinals want at least 3 first-round picks to move down, looking at you, Minnesota. The Cardinals have made it very clear that they want to hear trade offers. They want to know what's out there. I think Monty Ossenfort is just a wheeling and dealing machine if he's operating the way he wants to. Now, very clearly, the Vikings are the obvious match here. They are the ones that stand out as a trade partner for Arizona, which means, with the 3 first-round pick idea in particular, this is what the Cardinals would be asking for. They want number 11, number 23, and Minnesota's first-round pick next year for pick number 4. I don't know if Minnesota is going to be willing to do that because that is so expensive. In fact, per the updated trade value chart, the one that's kind of got some adjusted numbers, since the Jimmy Johnson era first kind of got it going, that's an extra second-round pick in value before they add the 3rd first-round pick. Like, that's the difference in that trade value side of it. So that is a significant overpay for Minnesota. But if a team like the Giants, a team like Denver wants to go up and get JJ McCarthy instead, that potentially could be the cost involved unless the Vikings call Arizona's bluff and try to make a deal with the Chargers. Now, we will have more NFL news, draft, free agency coverage, and more, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Some additional news items came out yesterday on the T'Vondre Sweat arrest. Figured we would mention those for you here. Pegged as a potential, if not likely, day 2 NFL draft pick, Sweat's draft stock is now a little bit murky. He was arrested on Sunday for DWI. Here are the known details so far. Was a 2-car crash at 4:41 is when police arrived. Sunday morning down in I-35 out in Austin. So very early in the morning. The other car driver apparently fled, which, okay, dude, they have your license plate, so they're going to find you, and then you're even more trouble. Sweat was eventually booked at 2:12. So 10-ish hours later, finally gets booked. My theory, and he might have been in the tank a little bit there to sober up. If a theory they gave him the breathalyzer or whatever, or it was extremely obvious. $3,000 bond. Maybe the bigger issue here for Sweat is that he had a reputation, and that this was known going into the pre-draft process of he was a bit of a partier. He wasn't the most mature guy, wasn't locked in on football. He told NFL teams he had moved past that. It was a big deal for him to mention that. And then this happens. So your pre-draft concerns are now amplified on Sweat. So what round, if any, Would you draft Sweat if you were an NFL franchise? He wasn't going to go in the first. Still in the second. Do you dig him further? Would you even take him? Sound off in the comments section. This will take him off of teams' boards. There will be teams that go, nope, we're not doing it. We don't trust the person. Because this just increases the concerns teams had. You know, they had to be convinced that, hey, you were past those immature years, that you would be locked in all the way through. And you do this. And by the way, he failed the stupid test. You know? It used to be if you got dinged for smoking weed at the NFL Combine, you failed the stupid test. You're just not being smart. Well, then you do this. Now teams don't care about weed. Get a DWI, less than a month before the NFL draft. What are we doing out here? That's not smart at all. All right, who is your favorite NFL team? Go ahead and shout that out for me in the comments section right now. Who is your favorite NFL team? Sure I'm not missing anything important. Okay, we're good. Favorite NFL team? I see Giants, Panthers from Eric and Antonio. Steelers International is a Steelers fan. No surprise there. Richard's a Bears fan. Filthy Philly's a Vikings fan. Shelly's a Patriots fan. Shamari Peoples is a Patriots fan, just like you, producer Chris. Jerome Munoz. Oh, sorry, that's not the answer there. CJ is a Cowboys fan. Matthew's a Rams fan. Jerome called them the Bike Queens, so I think you're going to have maybe a Bears or a Lions or Packers fan there. Bulls Nation cheers for Minnesota. CJ cheers for the Cowboys. Matthew cheers for the Rams as well. Cali Lama's a Patriots fan. We got a Bucks Nation from Underdog. Howard's a Steelers fan. Christopher C. says Steelers as well. It is time for our NFL mailbag. There are two ways to get on the show for this. Number one is use hashtag NFL. Allows you to get in the queue for producer Chris to find your questions and then bring them up on screen. Does put you in the queue, so maybe you get on, maybe you don't. Depends on the number of questions and if Chris decides to pick yours, but get him in the comments section for me right now. We will also get any super chats that came on. So CJ DeYoung, I see your super chat. That will be featured as part of it. If you don't want to super chat, that's fine. Not everyone has to. It's not a big deal. That's why we have the hashtag NFL so that everybody can get their questions in. Now, if you have not already, please follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. My DMs are open, so if we did not get to your question on today's mailbag, they are open and you can slide on in. From CJ DeYoung III, a $5 super chat. Thank CJ. Everyone type CJ in the comments. Hey, Tom, can you do a follow-up draft show that talks about how all the draft gurus stack up against each other, including you? Thanks. So 2 follow-up questions here for you, CJ. Do you mean like from a big board perspective, or do you mean mock draft perspective? Because the guys over at the Huddle Report do the full mock draft results, which I think after this year, the 5-year average got a chance to be around the top 10 compared to everybody. So, but CJ, let me know, and I appreciate your super chat on today's show. For Mark, I'm all for getting a QB not as good as Dak and spending all that saved money on some great guys. Problem is, I have no confidence Jerry Jones would do that to get any good free agents. That is a very valid concern for Mark. Appreciate your $5 super chat as well. Like, they have not shown a willingness to spend in free agency. They had the ideal window, right? Rookie quarterback contract, and yeah, they had an extra year of Romo's dead money that really wasn't all that much. What'd they spend on? Nobody. They didn't do anything. They rolled into the year with Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley and Deontay Thompson. Like, this is a good receiving core. No. They didn't try to be aggressive then. So that is a big concern for me. Like, do you trust this team to build a better roster with a worse quarterback? I'm not sure I do. From Andrew, hashtag NFL, would the Cowboys trade CeeDee Lamb? I don't see it happening. Lamb might do the hold out or the hold in thing, but he's not going to be the demand to trade, I don't want to be here anymore guy. Remember, players do the hold outs and hold in stuff to get paid by their current team. That's what they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to increase the timeline of that and force some movement on that front. So I know that there's a reporter that Lamb might hold out. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I would be shocked if they actually flipped CeeDee Lamb as part of it. So name a player, this could be any team, any player, that you want to see traded. Go ahead and sound off with the pinned comment of today's video. The ad comes on YouTube. That's great. No one cares about the ad. Ignore it. Go vote at the pinned comment instead. From Lore, which offensive lineman will fall to the Niners on day one, or should they just trade down to the pick? I think a guy like Jordan Morgan could be there for him. I think that could be a really good fit. Right tackle wise, maybe Tyler Guyton's there. I think Kingsley Suamataia could be a good fit. He's played a lot of zone blocks. I know the Niners have done more gap stuff in recent, year. But I think Suamataia or Morgan could be there. In a great offensive line class, those guys might go earlier in a normal one. Bulls Nation. Houston trades John Mechie to Carolina for next year's third. I don't think they'd actually get a future third for him. Coming off a year in which he didn't play because of the cancer diagnosis, and then not doing much in year two, great story. You want him to, everyone's going to cheer for him. I don't think the actual NFL trade value is all that high at this stage. I would guess that the value is a little bit lower. Maybe a mid to early day 3 pick could make some more sense. Is a good name, though, for Carolina. I do think that makes sense because they need to get some more wide receiver help, and there's some Bryce Young overlap there. Gary Sanderson, Tom, who are some of my guys this draft? Okay, good question. Let me pull up my notes here. So running back, I'll try to name a couple of different positions here. Running back, I want to make Marshawn Lloyd great. I don't know if he has the vision at all. He's kind of blind with some fumbling issues. I'm a big fan of Jalen Wright out of Tennessee as well. I guess I'm going to be higher than most on Xavier Legette. That's fine with me, though. I have no complaints on that front there. I don't actually like this tight end class very much. I think it's kind of mediocre, if I'm being honest. I don't have anybody that really stands out to me. I love Amarius Mims in the first round. I think he's going to be a really, really good football player. I like Gabriel Murphy out of USC. Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State is like some day 3 guys. Defensive tackle-wise, it's an okay class. I guess it'll be higher than most on Johnny Newton in terms of like the first round guys. Highly intrigued by Justin Aboijbe on day 3. I think that's a rare, underrated Alabama prospect. Linebacker-wise, I think you'll see a lot of people say that the Temple kid, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Jordan McGee. I think people are going to like him a lot as they eventually get to him. I think Tevin Wallace is a good name. I hate the safety class, by the way. I don't think it's very good. I want to believe in Kalen Bullock. I want to make him a thing. I think Mikey Sainristil, that's my type of guys. And it's a guy that I think is going to be a really good player, even though he's small and undersized. And you know what? I want to believe in Quantez Stiggers, too, because it's an awesome story. Played in the CFL last year and is now draft eligible. So hopefully he ends up being a fun NFL player as well. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They've got deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. By the way, when you're doing Game Time, always keep an eye out for some of their deals. That includes, flash deals, sponsored deals, and zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings in the process. And you can get tickets not just for sporting events, NBA, MLB, concerts, comedy, theater as well. So download the Game Time app to take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, $20 off. That's CHATSPORTS, ChatSports for $20 off. Terms do apply, but again, create your account, over at GameTime.co. Download the app and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. CJ again, a $5. He says, I guess I mean mock drafts. What's the difference? Sorry for not knowing. Never apologize. You're fine. Big board basis is like how accurate were those, the grades of the players? Like, did you get the player right? Mock draft is, did you get the draft pick projection right? From Martin, I think Patrick Paul is a sleeper for my boys. That is the Houston offensive tackle. He definitely fits what the Cowboys historically like in offensive tackles. They like athletic players with arm length. Patrick Paul ran a 5.13 40 with 40 bench, despite having 36-inch arms at 6'7", 331. I don't think he goes round 1, but I think on day 2, somebody will snag him. Eric Lockhart, will the Giants take a quarterback or a wide receiver? Depends on which quarterback is there. If JJ McCarthy, I think, organically gets to 6, I wouldn't be shocked if they took him. If he's not there, or even if they don't like him, I think receiver makes so much sense. I don't think Marvin Harrison's going to be there, but they can take Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, and both those guys give them the type of dynamic and or bigger body at receiver that they don't really have. If you're the Giants and you stand pat at 6, you walk out of that draft with Malik Neighbors from LSU or Rome Odunze from Washington, I think you feel great about that pick. From Sawyer, are the Malik Neighbors character concerns real? Who knows? Maybe to an extent, but allow me to put it to you this way. They are not going to impact his draft stock. There's not going to be some Laramie Tunsil slide suddenly on draft day. He's going to be an earlier pick, and he's my number 2 overall player behind Marvin Harrison Jr. I think someone's going to get a damn good football player. Who is your number 1 prospect in this year's NFL draft? Sound off for me in the comments section right now. From Cameron, do you think the Bills and Cowboys are taking a step back so far in the offseason? I think the draft could help them get better. Yes and yes. The draft can help. You need to draft players to help you in year 1 when you're a playoff team. But I would argue it's basically impossible to say the Bills and Cowboys are better on paper this year than what they were last year. Both teams have lost a bunch of players. The Bills at least have made some other moves, and you can see their plan of reset, be better in the future. The Cowboys' plan is do nothing. It's very uninspiring. Callie Lama, thoughts on the Patriots extension with Kyle Duggar? I love his game. I think he's a great football player, so I like it. They have money to burn, by the way, too. So retaining your good players, I think, is certainly a good idea. Now, if you enjoy our NFL mailbags, thanks. Make sure you are subscribed as well. Hit that sub button right here on the channel. From Howard, is Corey Trice still a viable option at corner for the Steelers with no injuries? Trice kind of falls into an awkward position where, you didn't get to see him at all last year, and he was a 7th-round pick. Now, injuries were a big factor in that conversation. I had a 4th-round grade on him, but you can't bank on an injured corner to be a key part of your team. So I think you kind of keep him on your roster, hope something develops, but if somebody's there you love early on, you still got to take that guy. Christopher C. After the first 2 rounds, I think some late-round targets from the Steelers should be Renardo Green, that is the Florida State safety, and corner. Florida State receiver Johnny Wilson, Washington wide receiver Jalen Polk, or Rutgers cornerback Max Melton. Thoughts on these players' games? I think a couple of those guys might go round 2. I could see Max Melton sneaking in. That's the Rutgers corner sneaking into round 2. I like his game a lot. I've got I think it's an early 3rd-round grade on him. Let me check. Yeah, 3rd-round grade on there. Jalen Polk, I have a 2nd-round grade on. I think he's going to go in the 2nd round. Renardo Green is a very talented corner, fun player to watch as well out of Florida State. I think a good sleeper name for 3rd round maybe. I don't know where Johnny Wilson goes. Still don't know if he's a tight end or a wide receiver, but I think 3rd, 4th round stands out for him too. From Mason, Why isn't Michael Penix a top 5 player? He's clearly better than JJ McCarthy. Well, A, I don't know if the NFL agrees with you, because certainly would guess that McCarthy goes before Michael Penix. Look, there are a lot of things to like about Penix, to be clear. I think as a pure passer, this is probably a top 2 prospect this year. The difference is he's 24 years old as a first-year player. There are major medical red flags. He's got the arm strength, the general accuracy. Sometimes he kind of got bailed out by his incredible receiving core at Washington. But, shoulder and knee injury, red flags. And when he was moved off of his spot, when he had to make plays a little bit more outside of structure, especially not including that Texas game where he did do some good things, it wasn't very good. It wasn't great. He had an outlier success rate with contested catches, by the way, which kind of is, I think, a bit of a red flag. I don't love that necessarily. There's a lot of those in there. And I think between the medical and the out of structure concerns, those things matter. 10 years ago, he probably is a top 5 pick. This in the current meta of the NFL, maybe he goes top 15, or maybe he slides a bit. How many quarterbacks do you think end up going in round 1? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Gary Sanderson, Tom, who's your not my guys? Oof, man, getting a little negative there back to back. Players that I do not believe I will be as high on as the consensus, quote unquote. I kind of don't see it with Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. I got more of a 3rd round grade on him. I have anxiety over J.C. Latham. I chop Robinson. I get the appeal. It concerns me there. Depending on how you feel about guys like Troy Franklin, Tavondre Sweat, Darius Robinson, probably won't be as high on some of those guys as well. Think of other players. If you got a second on Malachi Corley, you're going to be higher on him than me. That's because I don't know if he can play receiver. He might have to be a running back. He doesn't run routes well at all. He's going to be a gadget guy, which he's a dynamic gadget guy, but does need some help. Last one from DC times Viper is Justin Jefferson going to be traded on draft night? No, he will not be traded on draft night. That's not. I would be blown away if Minnesota did that. The whole point of trying to get a quarterback is to help Justin Jefferson and have a QB for him and not have him become disgruntled. I'll be blown away if he's moved on night 1 of the NFL draft. Now, when it comes to the NFL draft, how many rounds of the NFL draft will you watch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 7 of them? Sound off in the comment section as I sip some water. I love watching all 7 rounds. Always have done. I'm the guy that just sits there and does it and does it and does it. It's just my go-to. 3 from Shelly, 3 from Eric. Steelers a big fan of Penix. There are some things to like about him. Again, it's a pure passer. Stroud also has showcased a lot more out-of-structure stuff. Maybe we'd have felt differently if he didn't struggle against Michigan, because that could have been his Stroud-type game against Texas. But I just worry about the out-of-structure and the medical. In the end, feel like the medical is going to play a much bigger factor in Penix, because you always see the medicals came back great immediately at the combine. Okay, did they really though? Hendon Hooker was Hendon Hooker is cleared, is going to be good to go for camp, and then he didn't get activated until November. He wasn't even active on the Thanksgiving game. The medicals, sometimes you don't get the best info that's leaked out because leaks come from the players and their agents. For Mark, this is a make or break year for Mozzie and Schoonmaker. Yeah, probably. If those guys don't play well, you are in desperate need of a one technique again and a backup tight end. Now, the backup tight end value is lower. That's why it was a bad pick for the Cowboys, even more so than Mozzie was, as far as I'm concerned. But you need to see some things from young players quickly. There's a lot of guys, even beyond Mozzie and Schoon, that fit that mold for the Cowboys. From Joey DeLuca, just $1 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that quite a bit. If you guys love the NFL draft like we do here at Chat Sports, then you have to subscribe. We will be live for all 7 rounds of this year's NFL draft. So before we break down my latest 2024 mock draft with trades, hit that sub button right now. All right, let's go to pick number 1. Oh, shocker, it's Caleb Williams. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That is not going to change anytime soon. Jaden Daniels, number 2 to Washington. This is kind of where the draft begins. I would not be surprised if it was Drake May. I would be surprised if it was JJ McCarthy. More on that in a little bit. Daniels is mobility, and if we believe the reports about how some teams feel about Drake May, maybe he does fall down, quote-unquote fall, to number 3 overall. So Daniels to the Commanders. I might flip that come my final mock draft. We'll see. Drake May to the Patriots. You kind of get a good round of lying season. Then you kind of get eventually some better info, but also some lies in the weeks, in the days, I should say, the week leading up to the NFL draft. So I got 3 QBs, 1, 2, 3. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. 1, 2, 3. At number 4, let's get wild with it. Let's do a 3-team trade. I got Minnesota jumping up to number 4 overall. They also get a 3rd-round pick via Arizona. Arizona, because I don't think they really want to move away from Marvin Harrison without having a plan. They do still get 3 first-round picks, 5, 23, and a future 1, and they get to take on the biggest win of this trade. The Chargers, they move down because they just want extra assets. They get number 11 and a 2nd-round pick from Arizona, an early one, and a 5th-round pick. Arizona kind of overpays to move back up to number 5. That's to keep their 2nd. They still do it because they get to keep the future 1st instead. So to put it in perspective, all these things here are the net pick values based on the NFL draft trade chart. Minnesota overpays significantly. Now we'll put some stock into hey, I believe the reports of Minnesota getting desperate and the Cardinals want 3 firsts and everything. Cardinals win the trade more than anybody. Chargers still win a decent amount as well. Basically an extra 2nd-round pick to move down. It's Minnesota that pays the premium quarterback tax to jump the Giants and make sure like Denver does not move up. So will trade happen in the top 5? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on this video. So if the ad comes, take advantage and go guess. Y or N. I do think McCarthy feels like a Minnesota Viking when it's all said and done. And I do think his fit in particular in a Kevin O'Connell offense makes a ton of sense for Minnesota. Paying all of that, might not make nearly as much sense. Number 5, Marvin Harrison Jr. Arizona gets to trade down, get assets, and they get Marvin Harrison Jr. Just like they did last year with Paris Johnson Jr., also out of Ohio State, by the way. Giants then, no quarterback, but hey, they get Malik Neighbors, and that gives them a legitimate, dynamic wide receiver 1. I think they're pretty happy. Tennessee would love LA to move down so they can secure Joe Alt at number 7. I would be pretty damned shocked if Joe Alt didn't go in the top 7 of this year's draft. Too many teams, especially Tennessee, need a left tackle. Dallas Turner to the Falcons also feels like a pretty darn good fit. They could use some more pass rush help. This would be the first and only player, a defensive player, I should say, taken in the top 12 of this particular mock draft. Number 9, the Bears. Look, they have Keenan Allen. They don't need another wide receiver, but Rome Odunze would be probably the best player on the board. He's going to be a fringe top 5 player for me on my big board. And giving talent to Caleb Williams, probably a good idea. All right, the Jets at 10. How about Brock Bowers here? Now, Rodgers doesn't always like, rookies, but you could use him as kind of your big slot receiver. And because he's not George Kittle, he's not an inline tight end, but as a two-way player in terms of okay blocker and really good pass catcher, Bowers to the Jets makes a lot of sense for me. The Chargers at number 11, Talise Fuanga out of Oregon State. You want a right tackle and you want to run the ball if you're Jim Harbaugh? This is your guy. Not Chase Edmonds. It's this guy. Luongo, I think, would be a great fit for LA. They trade down. Yeah, they still got to get a receiver. They can get one in round 2. They can address the offensive line like Jim Harbaugh loves to do. At number 12, and maybe he goes 13 to the Raiders instead, I'm going to go with Michael Penix here out of Washington. I don't know where he goes. I could see him going somewhere in this range, 12, 13, maybe 16 to Seattle. If he doesn't go there, I could see him sliding. We've seen guys, we've seen Will Levis slide, we've seen Malik Willis slide relative to what some of the early mock drafts had. How does the medical check out? How do teams feel about him moving outside of structure, being beyond, his drop back, not getting through reads, but doing things under pressure? He does a good job of avoiding sacks, but he had a good offensive line. When pressure gets in his face and he has to move around, then things get a little bit more dicey. So will Michael Penix be drafted in round 1? 1 for yes or 2 for no? Sound off in the comments. If the Raiders don't go QB, or maybe they fall in love with offensive lineman, I think they really like Terron Arnold out of Alabama. So your first 2 defensive players, both Bama products. 14 of the Saints, hey, you need to get help along the offensive line. Trevor Penning's not been very good. Ryan Ramczyk's hurt. I think Washington out of Penn State is a great fit for the Saints. I thought about getting really weird with it and having like the Bills trade up here, and I'm like, no, let's not be crazy here. Let's just take Brian Thomas to the Colts. Another outside vertical threat. You probably move on from Alec Pierce, that's fine. Brian Thomas, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs is a young, talented, impactful trio for Anthony Richardson. Now, Seattle doesn't like to invest in guards. Maybe they can convince themselves that Troy Polamalu's different because his offensive coordinator and his O-line coach at Washington are now in Seattle. Some logical connections there, and they need the help along the offensive line. They need to get guard help at some point. Number 17, Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo to Jacksonville. Corner's a big need. Makes sense to me. J.C. Latham, in many ways, is the archetypal Bengals offensive lineman. Big guy, maybe not the best athlete, but a powerful player. What they like as of late. Number 19, Jared Verse out of FSU to the L.A. Rams. Adding another pass rusher, interior or on the outside, I think is a priority for the Rams, and Verse at 19 is pretty solid value. The NFL draft is all about NFL teams trying to get their next great employee. And when you're hiring for your small business to find your next great employee, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. We have hired a bunch of people here at Chat Sports, including producer Chris, including a new hire and some more you'll hear about in the not-too-distant future. Because LinkedIn isn't just another job board, and they've helped us in that hiring process. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses, like us here at Chat Sports, are wearing a lot of hats. It's not just on-air stuff. We have behind-the-scenes stuff as well, and I'm involved in the hiring process too. You might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn helps save time and make this process easier for us here at Chat Sports. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Steelers at 20, Amarius Mims. I love the upside. I think he is such a very talented player. I would gamble on him even earlier. You get to pair him back with Broderick Jones, by the way, for the Steelers. That's a fun 1-2 punch. Byron Murphy, number 21, to the Miami Dolphins. You want to replace Christian Wilkins? Add an Impact 3 technique. Boom, problem solved. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson to the Eagles. Thought a lot about Cooper DeJean here, by the way, as well. But I'll go with Wiggins, who is faster than DeJean, although both guys are impressive athletes. Probably DeJean even more so, more him given his size. I think Wiggins is a more fluid man coverage player, though. Liatu Latu to the Arizona Cardinals here. This pick is via Minnesota through Houston by way of Cleveland. 4 times in this mock draft, at least. Pass rush help is, I think, a focal point for Arizona. If Latu's medicals check out, he could go top 10. If they don't, he could slide a bit. He's a wild card in terms of where he actually goes. Dallas at 24. Let's go with Jackson Powers Johnson here. I don't know if he really goes top 25. There are some medical concerns some teams have there. But if you want to find your next good center, I think JPJ has a real argument for being the best one in this year's class. But medicals do have to be vetted there. Number 25 to Green Bay, Cooper DeJean. They do have interest in him, by the way. Some teams will view him as a safety. I do have some man coverage concerns. He's a really good straight line athlete, though. He can tackle. I think there is a role for him somewhere on your defense. Tampa 26. Didn't have a great feel for it, honestly. I'm going to go with the value pick here. I would not be surprised if Graham Barton went even earlier. Like, he could go 16 to Seattle. That wouldn't shock me, frankly. Left tackle at Duke. Going to play on the inside, though, in the NFL. By the way, I would love this haul for Arizona. You walk out of the draft with Marvin Harrison Jr., Liatu Latu, and Johnny Newton. I love all 3 of those guys. You're getting an impact 3 technique there, which I know Arizona signed a bunch of defensive tackles this year. I don't care. They didn't sign good ones. Let's get a really good one here out of Illinois. Number 28, A.D. Mitchell. There are some effort, football focus concerns at times for Mitchell. Like, times he just didn't look interested out there. When he's been locked in, he's been dynamic, though. He is a big size, great athlete. The Bills need a number 1 receiver. A.D. Mitchell has number 1 receiver upside. I don't know if Kool-Aid McKinstry will go this early because of the Jones fracture in his foot, but I think that a Nick Saban guy to Dan Campbell makes sense, right? And corner is a need for Detroit. They traded for Carlton Davis and then had to cut Cam Sutton. Tyler Guyton, number 30, out of Oklahoma. I want to see him be more polished. I think he needs more work, but left tackle or right tackle upside, and the Ravens love those Power 5 players. Number 31, Chop Robinson out of Penn State. A high upside pick. Kind of like a Dafe Owe, where like this dude's a freak athlete, but you're a great athlete. Why didn't you produce better? Yes, they have Nick Bosa. Yeah, they signed Floyd and Yeturgos Matos. I think adding another early round pick to develop makes sense for San Francisco. Wouldn't be mad at Tyler Guyton either. That would make a lot of sense for Frank. You can flip those picks. I think both teams could have interest there. Jordan Morgan out of Arizona to the Chiefs. I don't love their left tackle spot. I think Morgan could also be a good fit for Arizona too, by the way, or for the Niners, by the way. Not great arm length, but is an athletic player. Could be viewed as a guard for some teams, though. Who did I leave out of my mock draft in round 1? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. Before we go, some non-round 1 picks, because Panthers, Texans, Browns fans, I care about you too. I think Ladd McConkey is a great fit for what the Panthers need. They need speed and guys that get open. Ladd McConkey offers that in both areas. Texans at 42. I'd love to find a 3 technique. The arm length concerns for Braden Fisk are absolutely real, and that will raise concerns for teams. My player comp for him is a T-Rex. Big guy, but short arms. Almost 6'4", 292. 31-inch arms are kind of small. The real comp is kind of like a Milton Williams type. In a not great DT class, I think Fisk could go pretty early. And I'll go surprise pick here. How about Patrick Paul out of Houston? Browns have shown some interest in the pre-draft process for tackles. We'll see about Jedrick Wills long-term. Giving Patrick Paul a year to develop and then give him a shot at left tackle is a pretty decent idea, I think. So you can be honest with me, I can take the negative comments. Grade the NFL mock draft here. A, B, C, D, or F. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section. We'll give some shout-outs here before we go and hit the super chat that came in here as well. Which this is kind of a funny super chat. I don't know if Chris is going to be able to identify it quick enough there. Do you know what the name is, Chris? Yeah, he got it. He had to sign it out, though. From Itchy, term I probably shouldn't say out loud. Did you buy the cream yet? Might go along with whatever is itchy, by the way. Which I think it's pretty funny. So, first time super chat. This is also euros, I think that's what that is. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know foreign currency. But thank you, my friend. So grade the mock draft. A-, C+, B, A. In a way that's kind of like grade the mock draft for your team. Is how a lot of these votes tend to come in there. Which is certainly reasonable, which I get. Hopefully things go well for you guys during the draft and you guys get players you want. I think as I got to this kind of like late round one, I'm like, things are going to get weird this year. I think late round one we'll have some surprise picks. There's a bunch of guys I like in that top 25, and then it kind of thins out a little bit for me. We will have more NFL coverage for you right here on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now here on YouTube. No loop today. We'll be back live again on Thursday and have more videos for you all week long. Hit that sub button right now so you don't miss out.